Jamestown settlement is one of those places that not only brings back memories from your childhood, but also provokes thoughts of the future. We came in through the museum and you noticed a giant brick pillar. This pillar was built after the Queen of England had visited. As we first walked in the Indian settlement, I felt as if I had entered a new world. The architecture and setup of this settlement was truly believable. It made me feel as if I was back in time. As we walked into one of the first houses, you noticed that animal furs were covering everything. They were used for almost everything as well, from blankets to clothing to warmth. There was also a small fire pit in the middle that was used to provide the light. Walking around the village, it was like you were back in time. Fresh animal hides were everywhere. We learned that they use these hides for just about everything, from clothing to blankets to shoes. As we walked away from the reenacted Indian settlement, we made our way to the docks where the reenacted ship sat. The Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and Discovery are full working recreations of the ships that brought the first English colonists over the Atlantic. The journey across the Atlantic took the colonists 144 days. They stopped along the coast of Europe, North Africa, and many islands in the Caribbean. The entire trip took more than 6,000 miles. As we made our way onto the Susan Constant, you noticed how small the ship actually was. The settlers themselves weren't allowed to go above deck to the top deck and remained cramped in the lower decks. The lower deck had a ceiling of about 5 feet high, when the average settler was about 5 foot 8 inches. And below you were the animals and all of the goods that they were bringing to this new world, so it didn't smell too great either. The nicest place, of course, was the captain's quarters. He had a small bedroom to himself where his armor was, of course, located. My favorite part of the trip had to be the replication of the actual Jamestown settlement. The history of our country is described through this, and it's great to be able to smell the fires burning, hear the sounds the settlers probably experienced, and feel things like animal furs and the furniture they created. We heard the shot of a musket, saw the green gold of tobacco in a storehouse, and sat in a church they used for pretty much every town event. Making our way over to the actual Jamestown settlement, we came upon yet another large pillar, erected when the Queen of England came to visit once again. You couldn't help but think this might be the spot where Pocahontas did cartwheels in the town square. John Smith talked to his settlers. The statue of Pocahontas greeted us as we walked in. Archaeologists have begun to dig up some of the old buildings and grave sites, bringing the James River Fort back to life. Then once again we were sitting in another church, learning of the history of this settlement and how they set the foundation of the democracy we use in the United States today. And then it was time to leave. With our last view of John Smith overlooking the river he called home, we were on our way back to school, full of the feeling like history was made right under our very feet.